Viewer, barely had Narendra Modi landed in Srinagar this morning that the chorus of political sulkers began their taunts and laments, accusing the Prime Minister of flaunting paid crowds at Srinagar's Bakshi Stadium and that there was nothing organic about this crowd. This was all stage managed and none of it reflected the reality of Naya Kashmir. Sab propaganda hai. Viewer, you and I have a frank relationship, right? You listen to me because I don't give you any BS. I tell it to you straight and honestly. Accusing any politician or political party of paying for crowds is a lazy allegation. It's about as dumb a political attack as you can probably make, given that all political parties, no exceptions, do pay for crowds at some point or the other. It's honestly not something that even raises eyebrows. But the point I'm making is a little different here. It's not about crowds. I'm talking about this entire sena of sulkers making these allegations at a time like this. These are the same people, viewer, who wouldn't dare to, suggest that stone pelters, including minors and young children, have been pressured or paid to pick up rocks and fling them at security forces. Are they saying that stone pelting is entirely organic? The Kashmir issue is a complex one with no blacks or whites, believe me. But are these hypocrites living off the fat of the land in Srinagar honestly suggesting that sudden stone pelting eruptions in areas where encounters are taking place are not paid operations? But that's only the tip of what is an entire mountain of hypocrisy. And here's the bitter truth, viewer. Sulkers like Mehbooba Mufti, who decry the idea of Naya Kashmir, are people invested in a Kashmir that's ridden by conflict and bloodshed. A peaceful Kashmir offers these people no avenues for power or privilege. A prosperous Kashmir rids them of all the leverage they had in the blood economy of a land that has been destroyed by corruption, hypocrisy and lopsided priorities for decades together. When these sulkers pontificated about paid crowds and propaganda, let's give them some uncomfortable facts that they cannot manipulate in their usual way. This is data that's been presented in front of Parliament. What we've seen today across the political landscape is the frustrated hand-wringing of an ecosystem that cannot digest that things are visibly and measurably better in Kashmir since the abrogation of Article 375 years ago. So here's a list of questions I'd like to ask these sulkers, this ecosystem. Have stone pelters also been paid so much money now, like the crowds, that stone pelting incidents have dropped by an incredible 92% since the abrogation of Article 375 years ago? Were the 25 lakh tourists who made 2023 Kashmir's biggest year for tourism also paid agents? Were the 1.2 lakh visitors to Kashmir in February 2023, the highest for a single month ever in Kashmir, also paid to come? Were the tourists who've smashed the previous 40-year average for tourist numbers also being paid secretly by the state? Have terrorists also been paid such that grenade attacks have reduced by 15% after the abrogation of Article 370? Have Kashmiri civilians also been paid so there are 77% less casualties among them from IED blasts in the last 5 years? Have militants been handed enough cash in order to bring down fire and run cases by as much as 42%? Have terrorists been paid to stop snatching weapons from security forces, bringing down weapon snatching incidents by 60%? Have Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammad also been paid money such that terror encounters have decreased by 32% in the last 5 years? There are many more such indicators, all showing small or big decreases. Is that all nonsense and paid propaganda? This is stuff that's been shared in Parliament. All parties know about this data. How do you stage manage a record-breaking year of tourism? Please explain that to me. How do you fudge restaurants and cinemas full of visitors and locals? How do you hide houseboats and mountain resorts full of guests? This frustrated hand-wringing, this silly negativism and whining from politicians pretending to be articulations of the complexities of the Kashmir issue are futile. The Kashmir issue is complicated, but these people are hypocrites. Only prosperity can bring peace. Is there more work to be done in Kashmir? Overwhelmingly so. Modi hasn't even gotten started yet. And he's got many things he still needs to be held to. For starters, statehood, elections, many unfulfilled promises that must be implemented without any delay. The unkept promises for Kashmiri Pundits, the many promises to Kashmiri Muslims, and the citizenry of the Kashmiri hinterland, the countryside, who long for a piece of India's growth story. It has to happen. Naya Kashmir cannot be just a slogan, and it will happen. But by crying paid crowds when things are visibly better in Kashmir, sulking politicians are basically admitting that politics benefits when the people of Kashmir are under siege. That conflict is power. That peace removes all leverage for netas who've drawn all their strength from the surety that suffering will continue. In my 2 decades as a journalist viewer, I've visited Kashmir at least 20 times. I urge every one of you with the means to visit Kashmir, to go there, to see it for yourself. Don't believe me, go there. We don't need to quibble about monikers like Naya Kashmir. We'll leave that to the politicians. But the signs are there for you to see. As Indians, we must embrace them and do better, not wistfully wish for an older, sadder Kashmir that's just simply much more familiar to us all. Thank you for listening.